With me now, Dr. Zaher Sahloul. He's the president of MedGlobal, a group that provides medical assistance to refugees, and he recently returned from Idlib province. Doctor, you held a press conference today trying to get the world's attention on this. Tell our viewers what they need to know.
I went to many disaster regions with my organizations. We provide the health care to the displaced, to the victims of wars and natural disasters. I've been in countries like Yemen, Gaza, Lebanon, Iraq, Puerto Rico, following Hurricane Maria, Venezuela, Colombia, other places. And Syria is the worst humanitarian crisis that I have witnessed. I've been also going back and forth to Syria in the last 9 years. I'm originally from Syria, but I'm a practicing physician in Chicago. And the reason that I went this time, because of this large-scale displacement of population. We're talking about biblical number here. 900,000 people displaced in a small province called Idlib in northwest of Syria, the size of Delaware State, and they have no place to go. There's 3 million people in Idlib. Half of them have been displaced from cities like Aleppo and Homs and Ghouta and other places. And they are trapped in this small area, and they've been bombed. Their schools have been targeted. Their hospitals have been bombed. According to Physicians for Human Rights, 67 hospitals have been bombed in Idlib alone. You have children who are in camps, growing in camps. 500,000 children have been growing in camps in the last, displaced in camps in the last few months. According to Save the Children, on average, one child, Syrian child, is being killed in Idlib since April. In 1 month, 2019, more children have been killed in Idlib than the whole last year of 2018. In the last week, we had 2 children, Ghufran, 4-month-old, and Iman, who's 18-month-old, who were frozen to death. We have to pay attention. The reason that I went to Idlib, because I wanted to tell the Syrian people, my colleagues, the doctors and the nurses in Syria, that we care about them. The American public care about them. But also I wanted to convey their voice.
Well, is that the case, though? Because the U.S. isn't stepping in to prevent that, and I'm not seeing any other major foreign power stepping in.
When I talk with my colleagues in the hospitals in Chicago and my neighbors, they all care about what's happening in within the Syrian people, about the suffering of the Syrian children. They donate generously, whether you're Christian or Jew or Muslim, they donate. But our political leaders are not acting, and I think that will come back and haunt us. And what we've learned before, that what's happening in Syria will affect us somehow. Because of the Syrian crisis in 2015, the global refugee crisis, 1 out of 4 in the world, refugee in the world is from Syria. We have 24 million refugees. That created anti-refugee sentiment, anti-immigrant sentiment, rise of hate groups and xenophobia, Islamophobia in Europe and in the United States, and rise of terrorism. So if we do not deal with the Syrian crisis and end the crisis peacefully and protect civilians and hospitals and schools, it will come back and haunt us. What's happening in Syria will not going to be contained in Syria.
Doctor, the major powers that have leverage in Syria and that would have enough clout to step in and potentially stop this are not doing it because they're each pursuing their own agenda, whether it's Syria, Iran, the United States, Turkey. But one thing that strikes me is, why aren't we seeing the United Nations Secretary General blitz the airwaves? I know they put out statements. Why is he not blitzing the airwaves, going to Syria, going to Syria's backer, Russia, and trying to lead a very public pressure campaign?
That's an excellent question, and I think you have to have Mr. Antonio Gutierrez on your program and ask him this question, because that's in the mind of every Syrian I've seen. Not only every Syrian. I had meetings in the United Nations a couple of weeks ago with the UN delegations of the United States, France, and Germany, and Turkey, and everyone had the same question, that Mr. Antonio Gutierrez has to go to Turkey, to the Turkish border, and meet with the displaced people in Idlib and tell them that we are with you. I mean, that's his responsibility. And he has shown lack of leadership on this major crisis that the world is witnessing. The role of the United Nations is to preserve peace and security, to provide humanitarian aid, to protect human rights, to protect civilians. And he's not discharging his duty. He has to go to Idlib and tell the people that we are with you and discharge his leadership responsibility. He's been in other disaster areas, in Libya, in Mozambique, in Bahamas before, and he has to go to Syria.
Dr. Zaher Sahloul, look, thank you very much for your insights. Thanks for what you're telling us today. I'll point out that a motion was put to the United Nations Security Council for a ceasefire in Idlib. Russia vetoed it. That's one of the reasons that is not happening in Idlib. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.